Hello, and welcome to channel Ein Our Key, and I am your host, Voluntary. I have never taken the charge of cultural appropriation seriously. I thought it was a joke. A man in Los Angeles put some ketchup on his egg roll, and the 6,000-year-old Chinese civilization collapsed overnight. Still, it has come to the point where I need to talk about it. The problem is, those who are the most opposed to cultural appropriation are those who are the most woke. And those who are the most woke are busy appropriating geek culture. This is a second appropriation because first they appropriated punk fashion, which really irritated me. Now, when I see someone with a punk demeanor, I have to wonder if they are my people, some variant of counterculture, or if they are woke and merely wearing the uniform. Now they are invading geek culture. It started with video games. Then it invaded both comics, television, and movies almost at the same time. Now it is even invading role-playing games. Now I have to be careful here. I don't want to be accused of being a hypocrite, of only caring about this issue because it impacts me personally. It is true that it affected me personally is what prompted me to notice this to the point of responding. But I will be very careful to structure my arguments in pointing out cultural appropriation being done by the biggest critics of the practice. It started with gaming, of course, and the entire Gamergate situation. People generally think of it as one thing, but it was really many separate things all tied together because they all happened to gaming at around the same time. Whatever side a person takes on that particular issue, one thing is obvious. The entire situation went far above and beyond the actual singular incident that launched it. Whether a person believes Zoe Quinn or Aaron Joni, there is far more to what eventually became known as Gamergate. Brianna Wu and Anita Sarkeesian weren't part of the conflict between Zoe Quinn and Aaron Joni. Leaving aside that one conflict between two people, the larger conflict really was a part of the culture war. There existed a community that was bound together by one common interest. That interest is gaming. I do consider myself to be part of geek culture, but I do not consider myself part of the gaming community subset. Geek culture is a big thing, and there is far more to it than just gaming. I never took a side on the issue of Zoe versus Aaron, but I could see a determined effort to make it a much bigger political issue. Then television and movies. The early MCU movies, those were good. Yet, as it went on, we started getting movies that had much more of a political agenda, with characters reconstructed into a much more woke version. Just look at the MCU Captain Marvel. There's also Star Trek Discovery, the next two most recent Ghostbusters, some of the recent Star Wars movies, and the expansion of the Arrowverse. We've got the big four: Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel Comics, and DC Comics. And we've also got Ghostbusters and a few other smaller franchises. I'm aware that this criticism is also leveled against Doctor Who. I don't want to talk about that. The thing is, I'm not saying they can't do it. I'd prefer they didn't. And I'd really prefer that they try to create their own artistic works, which they are allowed to try. What I see, though, is that it is a massive case of cultural appropriation. This isn't their culture. They aren't natives to it. They are getting into it anyway, and that makes them guilty of the very act they condemn. Now, this is the part that annoyed me, which is why you could accuse me of hypocrisy for complaining about it. They came after the orcs. The description of the orcs is that they aren't human. It is also that they are brutish and violent, and stronger but less intelligent than humans. Someone in the woke crowd heard that and immediately thought of a racial group. Let that sink in. They heard brutish, violent, strong, not intelligent, and they immediately thought, that sounds like people of a particular race. It reminds me of the old joke about the Rorschach test. The doctor is showing the patient pictures. The patient keeps saying that they are pictures of sex. The doctor says, "You seem obsessed with sex." The patient says, "You're the one showing me all the dirty pictures." Having decided that brutish, violent, strong, not intelligent describes what they think of a particular race, they decided the people talking about orcs must be racist. Just like the psychiatrist is showing dirty pictures, the gamers are racist. Because the woke thought orcs sounded like the way the woke think of racial minorities. Well, they do have a right to complain. It is a pity that Wizards of the Coast listen to them, but I doubt the players will do much with the new modifications to the rules. This leads to the final result of all this appropriation. It fails every time and ruins franchises. The fans like what the fans like and are willing to pay a great deal of money for what the fans like. The woke see this and think they can collect a great deal of money for artistic works that convey a woke message. The fans aren't willing to pay a great deal of money for what they don't like. Then everyone gets mad at everyone else. This is the problem, though. The woke aren't creative enough to make their own franchise. They have to take over an existing franchise. We've seen it with the progressive and socialist takeover of other institutions, especially in education. Unlike education, you don't have to watch Batwoman. We don't have to watch The Last Jedi, and we don't have to play Depression Quest, and we can homebrew our orcs however we want. People generally do have to go to college, they generally don't have to see a bad movie. That's why this particular takeover isn't really working. So please, since you gender non-conforming, fat-positive, transracial otherkins mess up my culture every time you try to invade, please stop. Thank you for watching. We're now in the double digits for subscribers, and hopefully we will only keep growing. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe to help my channel grow.